Hey guys, I'm back. So today I really want to delve into the meaning of 2018, the spiritual implications, and talk a little bit about why I have decided to personally name this the Year of the Serpent. And, I made 3 videos of this before, and I'm not going to air them. I don't feel that they are ready for YouTube, so I'm kind of just speaking over this stuff again. And things I leave out, I will bring up in other videos. You know, but for this first video, part 1, I want to focus on the spiritual meanings of 2018, in the general sense, what we have to look forward to, and then get into a little bit why I chose Year of the Serpent. Okay? So, first, 2018, and I'm getting this from a website that does spiritual meanings of the years in numerology. I'll put the link in the description if anyone is interested in finding out more. But 2018 seems to be a very good year. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but so far I found it to be a very interesting um, and pleasant year, to be honest. Not without its, you know, trials, but certainly a more in touch year with myself. And as this website suggests, and many do, the spiritual meaning of 2018 is unity, communication, and understanding. And those will lead the way. And that is so good to hear. It makes so much sense. Because really, we are at a point now where those 3 things need to start occurring for us to see any sort of positive shift in what is going on in the world right now. The mass populace will be awakening to compassion. And this is key. We will start to see an awakening to not only the world around us, but it'll be met with compassion. Not as much anger and anxiety and fear like we saw in 2017 and 2016. This opens the doors for others to find their spiritual selves. A true growth period in humans is acknowledged. The light of 2018 embodies love in all ways. If hate is at the heart of the extra energy this year, it will help you find love. Now, this is key, I believe. Finding love is easy for those who already love. But for those without love, it is much harder to recognize. So those 2 lines are key. So this is going to be a wonderful year. But we have to remember that it's not going to all just be everybody wakes up and all the ignorance stops and all the fighting stops and the divisiveness stops. This is going to start to go away as people are going to tire of that and start to realize, I believe, that we need to have compassion with other groups and understanding if we ever hope to, as humanity, make it through to the next level of consciousness. This seems to be a controversial point with some people. When I say this, they may say it is fluff, but I say that any strives in social justice and humanity have been because one group of people sees the humanity in another group of people. For example, with slavery, um, with in that time it was just it was commonplace to have a black person as a slave, but it was the humanity in people where they started to realize these are humans just like us that changed that and changed that throughout history. So we need this compassion to grow right now, because right now, now we're in 2018, but in 2017 and 2016 we still saw the beginning of an awakening, but it was characterized with ignorance and fear and confusion. And this makes sense. This world, unfortunately, although I would like to say it's not so bad, and I don't think it is, there is a huge part of it that is ignorant and confused. And when people are just waking up, you can't expect them to just wake up into a state of bliss and love, because they're in a confusing world to begin with. So when they start to wake up to the systems and the powers and realize that these things are all a show and that they're all false and that they've been duped, they're going to be angry, they're going to be afraid, and they're going to be confused. And they're going to latch on to fear and hate as a way to interpret this change. And that's almost an instinctual thing. So we have to understand that that was something we had to go through and will still go through. Everyone changes at a different rate. But the general thing here in 2018 is that love and compassion will start to be seen more. Now, I did want to say that those two important sentences, when it says that finding love is easy for those who already love, those without love it is much harder to recognize. This is speaking to a pivotal point, that we are all in our own energy field, our own vibrations, and our own dimensions. And if you're in a place of love, and at your roots you come from a place of love, no matter how angry or how despaired you may have gotten, if you ultimately are of love, which many of us are, then you will find that 2018 sort of prompts you to find love. It makes it easy. The energy gives itself a way towards love. It'll feel as if you're being pushed that way. And I don't know about you guys, but I really have already felt that way. And I'll say something else about that in a second. But what you must understand is if a person comes from a base, a core of fear and hate, but really that is not hate, it's fear, then they will most likely continue to gravitate towards more intense fear of the changes that are occurring. Okay? So this has to do with energy. The energy is of love and compassion. But we're all in our own different dimensions and our energy fields. And if you're coming from a place of fear, at your core, I mean, not on any other level but your core, this will be amplified because it's going to be a very energetic time and a very spiritual time. And we are still in duality, which leads me to a theme of mine later on that I want to talk about. And although I think this duality will start to break, we still are in this state of dark and light, good and evil. And I just want to make a comment, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, but it felt like in 2016 and 2017, I felt like I became a very angry person. And I am a loving person, really. But it just seemed like I was picking up almost. And I don't want to say possessed, but I like to say that I was an antenna for the negative energy and ignorances and just kind of juvenile, basic, just misunderstandings of others. And I hate to even say racial because I'm not racist at all. But I felt as though I was an antenna that was picking up and almost understanding those who were in a place of fear and hate because it was so prevalent and popular. And that was the feeling, you know. And even if you were, and I mean this all around, I mean conservative or liberal, whoever you were fearful, you were angry, you were hateful. And it just felt like I picked up on that. Now in 2018 and leading up to it, that has dissipated for the most part. I don't have this innate sense of anger or angst about random things that I really don't feel angry or hateful about. It's all gone. And yes, it's partly that I'm in a different place, for sure. But it's just interesting that this has occurred around 2018. It just seems like now it's just easier for me to go back to that place of love and acceptance and, benevolence where I don't feel that I have to fight everything and be, um, you know, angry with others. It was a very bizarre time and it's hard for me to describe. It was very internal, but I feel this change. Um, so basically, remember the differences in others as you go about this year, and that's very important. And I was just having a discussion with my roommate. And sometimes when we talk, I don't like to let him get his points in, but he was right. You know, he had to remind me and say that everybody is different and has gone through different things. Black people have had a major context in this country that has put them at a disadvantage, a major one, as compared to gay people or white men or women or what have you. And so part of this is a unity. I think we're going to have to understand that we are all in this together. We are all humans. And that is what is the common denominator that connects us and unifies us. But we also have to do this with a sensitivity to the plight of others. And when I say that, I mean everybody. You know, as even, and this is funny because I've talked with a lot of white straight men. And so right now, as you know, that's considered the non-minority or the non-group almost. We're very identified. It's all identity politics, good or bad. Um, and then you have these white men. And I have two who I talk to in particular who are very nice, pretty open minded about everything. They are not racist, they are not bigots in the least bit. But when you talk to them, they both share this feeling that as a white man, you are put upon and made to feel guilty for things that you haven't done, for your privilege. And, there's one of them who takes it to a more extreme. The other guy is very self made and comes from, a poor family and is very smart about how he's made himself. But the point is that they're both very smart, wise people, but these men feel this way a little bit. And a lot of it comes from the feminist groups, who I have never encountered a feminist like this. Perhaps it's because I am gay, that I am treated differently. I am not just a straight white male. But I believe they're telling the truth when they tell me they've encountered women who are these feminists who have told them to their face that all men are scum and should die, and that women should be ruling, and just obscene things. And, it just makes me so sad because, if they're missing the point, these feminists, those who are like that, not all are. But I believe that that is the sort of militant feminism that is at the top of the group. Because right now, everything is very divided, and everybody is in these strong set groups. You see, and this is why we need unity, and this is why 2018 is so pivotal. Because we are waking up, and we are more socially conscious. And that's a good thing. But at the same time, we are less aware of the connection that we all share in our humanity. And despite our differences, despite our pasts, what we all are is human, and we have to work together. And this is what we will wake up to if we hope to ever evolve. It's just simple as that to me. But my point was just that they have this feeling, and you could invalidate it. I could invalidate it. I've never felt this way. You know, I've never felt like I was made to feel guilty. I don't feel guilty, but I'm aware of the privilege that I do have as a white man. And in a way, my being aware of that makes me sympathetic with those who, because of our current control structure, don't have it. But even them, we have to have compassion for and understand. And as hard as that may seem, and it's not easy, it's not, you can see them as whiny and bratty and entitled, and you can say, but white people have been on top forever. What do you have to feel, bad about? Well, the fact is that, for whatever reason, we can't know it all. They have a sense that they are being put upon, that because they're white men, they are blamed for everything. And I believe that on an energetic level, this is quite true. On an energetic level, these other groups, the gays, the women, perhaps black people, Muslims, whoever, on a subconscious level, are blaming white men. And I can't say I don't understand that, because in the general sense, white-skinned people have been on top. White males who are straight, and but these current white males who are not racist and who do not want to hurt others and who believe in equality and the future, they don't deserve to feel guilty um, for this. And they should know their privilege. They should understand that. But my point just being is, I'm sure you can argue with me all day about this. I'm not here to be making definitive statements. I'm here to talk about this stuff. And I feel that, as an example, just as a white person has to have sympathy, empathy, and understanding for the plight of a black person, and I have said this before and I'll say it again, it's only been about 50 years since black people were given their full rights and everything. It hasn't been that long. So, as white people, we can't feel that. We gave them the right to vote. We got rid of the Jim Crow laws. They should be over it. Because it hasn't been very long. It's only been 50 years. So, kids today are still hearing about this and still have the repercussions from their grandparents, say. So, just as we, as white people or whatever group, have to understand others, as hard as this may be, have to understand white people or blacks understanding gay people. They say there's homophobia in the black community. That's not acceptable either. It may be, but see, everyone misses the point because all these groups have one thing in common. They feel shunned, right? And now you got one more guy who has it in common, the white man, who all the minorities thought they could never have in common. Guess what? Now you do. They feel it too. Because now everyone, and the reason is because it's so divided that, and these different groups of people and ethnicities are so divided and so identified, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that there is a resurgence in this sort of white pride that is occurring because it's a natural result of that, you know. So now you have everybody claiming that this is who they are and this is their pride. But yet everyone's forgetting that at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We all struggle. We all encounter difficulties. Yes, some have disadvantage. That needs to be taken care of. But that will only be taken care of when we all come together and realize that we are the same. Only then will disadvantage disappear. Do you see? It won't, because it shouldn't just disappear for black people, or gay people, or Mexican people, or this person, or women. It disappears for everyone. That's when you have equality, and that's when you have true compassion. So I know I got on a little tangent there, but I just wanted to talk about the importance of this year for us. I think you're going to see a lot more compassion. It makes sense. The pendulum swings. For some people, they will remain in their state of fear. And that's their business. That's their universe. It's their reality. They can only help themselves. All you can do is understand them. That's all you can do, as hard as it is. You can understand them and where they're coming from. And I'll get to that later, how to do that. Because I have found a way to understand people who look at these modern times and say, I can't take this. But I do want to move on to now the theme of Year of the Reptilian. So just to backtrack, I said unity, communication, understanding will lead the way, compassion in others. The theme of 2018 is love. I forgot to mention that. The ultimate theme is love. So now, why did I pick Year of the Serpent? Well, for quite a few reasons, actually. To start, 8 represents the serpents of duality, if you think about the number and how it looks. Um, serpents of duality. And for those of you who don't know, duality is an energetic state that we are in. It's a spiritual state. Um, and it's a state of polarity, of good and evil, per se, dark and light, right and wrong. Um, it's a dimensional state, and we are currently living in it. And we've been living in it for a very long time. You could almost call it the plight of humanity, the struggle between good and evil. And we face this struggle every day, to give in to our desires, to strive to be a better person. It's a constant struggle. Duality is represented also by black and white, just to let you know. So that's partly why. Also, 8, by the way, represents infinity, which I think is beautiful and very fitting. I love the number 8 and 18, so that helps out. 2018 just seems like a good year. But why did I pick the serpent of all creatures? Well, first of all, I will just say quickly that part of the reason was to shift the focus onto the entire reptilian alien elite conspiracy theory. I wanted, the serpent or the reptilian to be in the focus because this is a year of waking up and this is a year of understanding. And I think it's time that, this theory or this conspiracy be brought more to the mainstream. I find it very interesting. I find it fascinating. Basically, in a very basic sense, the reptilian conspiracy is that we have alien beings on our planet, one of which is reptilian, humanoid beings. So they have scales, they have this green skin, but they're humanoid, they're evolved reptilians. Um, and it is said that they actually have a hand in world affairs and what takes place on this planet. And of course, it goes very deep, this whole theory. And I don't agree with all of it, of course, but I find a lot of it very plausible and very probable, in fact, now that I've looked into it more. Um, Even in the most basic sense that we have at one point had reptilian like alien beings on this planet and perhaps do still underground. Okay? Um, or that we at least were put here by alien beings, perhaps reptilians. And if you think about it, it's not so crazy. If we're going to have alien beings in our galaxy, then they may look somewhat like us or creatures on this planet. And we have reptiles on this planet still. We have snakes, we have lizards. Think about the days of the dinosaurs. I mean, reptiles ruled Earth. I mean, that was all it was about. Why wouldn't there be evolved humanoid, you know, reptile species from that time, perhaps, that we don't know about? Because remember, we only know so much. We only know so much about our history. Um, so, I find it very interesting. I find it very plausible. Um, and I wanted to shift the focus onto this a little bit in part. So now to get into the idea of the reptilians, right? Why are they here then? Well, the reptilians get a bad rap. Let me put it that way. They get a bad rap because they are, and I'll explain, are supposed to be a warring alien species. They're very aggressive. And if you've ever heard of the reptilian brain, we share part of our brain, kind of the smallest, the oldest part of our brain is considered, and you can look at this in a science textbook. This is not conspiracy or a stretch at all. It'll be labeled the reptilian brain. And what the reptilian brain controls is your basic body functions like breathing and heart rate, so basic survival, and also controls fear, anger, aggression, hunting, mating. Okay? So it controls the most basic animal urges, and those are aggressive. Those are survival. The reptilians now are very aggressive. especially the evolved ones. Now they've evolved to have higher thought and have crazy technologies, but ultimately there's still this. The reason that they are considered a warring species makes sense. It goes back to the type of brain they have. Um, and they actually, I learned they didn't even come out of our dimension or galaxy, as they put it. They came out of the star system Draco. Um, I don't know, probably more than thousands of years ago. And what this they're known for doing is colonizing different planets in different galaxies. So they're very successful at what they do. And you know, they there is a theory that they used to be on Earth, around when the dinosaurs were around. And you know, things happened. It was whether it was an asteroid falling or what have you, they had to leave Earth or go underground, or perhaps a little of both. And when they came back, it was different, and now humans were running the show. And they felt, no, this is our planet. This is our planet. And so they feel they have a right to it. So they did come from a different, um, you know, area of space, a different cosmic neighborhood originally. But then they did come to Earth before humans did, then left Earth, and now that they're back, or that they're looking down on us, they say this is ours to rule. So it's very interesting. So as you can see, they get a bad rap. They have they want to enslave humanity, control humanity. Some of this can be, I think, in a basic sense, can be related to the fact that humans hate snakes, and that's because we are mammals, and we are actually very unlike reptile creatures, although we do share some genetics and DNA. In a physical sense, they're an animal that we just don't look at or relate to. They're not like us. They're a different thing. First of all, they're cold-blooded, which is interesting. Their blood runs cold. Ours, we are warm-blooded. Second of all, they're scaly. We have hair. We have soft skin. We look like a cat, or a dog a little, or an ape, or even a horse. We share similarities with all of these creatures that are mammals. Reptiles are a totally different thing. And so we feel no real connection with them. We feel no real, even compassion with them. They're not cute. They're different than us. They're alien in their own way. So I think part of this negativity can go back to that. Because, again, just like with humans, not all reptilians are bad, but they happen to be an aggressive species. So I kind of wanted to bring that out a little bit this year and kind of make that more known. Because I think, if we're going to grow, we have to come to terms with this possibility that way, way, way up the control system, there is an extraterrestrial force, and it very well could be reptilians, and there's other aliens at play too. And it's funny the reptilians get a bad rap, because if you think about it, the popular notion is that the serpent, especially in the Christian doctrine, the Garden of Eden, was metaphorical for the devil. And so it's funny that they get this bad rap, and I think it connects to that. And so now I'm going to take a break here, okay? I have more about why I chose the serpent. When we get back, I'm going to talk about the different ways that serpents have been perceived throughout history in different cultures. I want to talk about the devil. I added this in. I want to talk about the devil and the misunderstanding of who the devil is and the role he plays for humanity. And then I would like to talk about my other sub-theme, the Garden of Eden, for this year. Okay? So we will be back. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Comment, question. I'll share links. And yeah, see you soon. Thank you so much.